I'm a 30-year-old woman, about 28 when this happened. I was living with my then fiancé, who is now my husband, so I'll just refer to him as my husband. We live in a 15-story apartment block in a large city center in the UK, on the 12th floor. To get into the building you need a key fob, and due to our logic of, well, if you're going to break into a flat, why go all the way up to the 12th floor? So we often didn't worry about locking our front doors. Stupid mistake. Our flat was very small. It was pretty much an average-sized bedroom with a bathroom and tiny kitchen. The night this happened was a run-of-the-mill Saturday evening. My husband and I just got into bed and fell asleep. The next thing I remember is opening my eyes, the room lit only by the moonlight, to see a face looking at me through the door to my left. I had never been in such horror before in my life. All I could do was screech and scream. Due to how dark it was, I couldn't see any features, just a blank face-shaped thing looking at me through the door. And I knew it wasn't my husband. My husband was laying closer to the door. I grabbed onto him, pushing and pulling him around, screaming in complete horror. "Who is that? Who is that?" My husband didn't say a word. The man just kept looking at me until my husband got up and stood in front of him in the most intimidating way he could. My husband isn't particularly tall. He's about 5'8", but it looked like the night creeper was actually pretty short and skinny. The creeper ran and my husband chased him. I didn't really notice at the time, as I was frozen in place. I felt like I was having an out-of-body experience or something. So this next part is what my husband told me. He's a lot braver than me. "I knew the guy was there before you woke me up. I was lying in bed wondering what the hell to do. When you started screaming, I thought, this isn't going to happen. I got up and decided to put up a fight. He ran off as soon as he saw me. The guy went to the staircase running. I followed him, ran down a few flights of stairs and yelled at him, 'Who the fuck are you?' I realized the guy wasn't going to fight me. I was putting myself in danger and leaving you alone and terrified. The you being me, the wife. After my husband came home, I freaked out again, saying his name and, 'Is that you?' He turned the light on silently with a glazed look over his face. Mostly confusion rather than fear. He sat on the bed and said, 'Yeah, it's me.' We spent the rest of the night confused and freaked out. It was 6 a.m. and we obviously couldn't sleep. Our building has CCTV in the main reception area and entrances. With it being Sunday, the security guy wasn't at the desk, but we did contact the police. My husband seemed worried about me because I refused to stay home. I was in work on the Monday 1 through 9 p.m. Never been so happy to have a reason not to be home. During the day, my husband spoke to the security desk guy, who said that multiple people reported their doorknobs being messed around with in the night. One group of people reported that they were having a house party and heard someone in their hallway. When they went to investigate, no one was there. The security guy said he would look at the CCTV for us to give to the police. The police collected the CCTV disc and spoke with my husband. For some reason, they just asked to watch it on our computer. The police couldn't figure out how to open the file, but my husband is a programmer and a computer genius, so obviously he opened it. I saw the CCTV. It's weird. This guy is there with his friend at the front entrance, the first door that needs a fob. He slammed his body into the door about 5 times and the door gave in. They got to the second door. The creep's friend had a rose. No idea why, but it made it all the more creepy. He leaned on the walls while creeper number 1 tried to break the second key fob door. But this door wasn't giving in. Then someone who lives in my building walked by. Creep number 1 stood by the panel and pretended to call one of the flats. The guy who lived here let him in. The CCTV then shows the 2 guys walking past the main desk and looking at the 2 sets of stairs and 2 lifts for a while. They then both go in opposite directions. This was timestamped at about 4:50 a.m. These guys were going around the flats for an hour before he came into our flat. The security guy cut it so it only showed clips of the creeper who came in our flat, so we don't know when the Rose Creep left. But the next clip shows creeper number 1 running for his life out of the building at 6:05. Obviously, my husband scared him. I didn't feel safe in my own home for like a month after this. I walked around my own apartment with a knife if I was alone. I'm so grateful for my husband. He's saved me many years throughout the years, and this is just one example out of many where he was my hero. I'm mostly over it now, but I'm a little paranoid about my front door, or if I hear any noises outside my flat. I never understood why home invasions were so horrifying until it happened to me. Remember to always lock your front door. This took place mid-December 2016. It was a dark afternoon, and my then girlfriend Liz and I were cuddled up on the couch watching Netflix with my 2 young nephews, 5 years and 10 months old at the time. We were babysitting while my mother was at work and my girlfriend's mom was running errands. My little sister, who was 12 at the time, was at a friend's house, who lived on the street diagonal from us from our backyard. It's kinda hard to explain. The movie we were watching, I think it was called Elf, was playing and Liz was into it, holding the baby and rocking him gently. I, on the other hand, was getting really bored from it and got up to get a drink. Just as I was returning to the living room, I heard a knock on the door. I walked towards the front door and stood on my tiptoes to look through the peephole. I flip on the porch light and see a big, burly man around his mid-50s and dressed in a dark brown winter coat with a gray hat. I asked who it was. "It's Vince from down the street. Can I come in?" I looked back at my girlfriend, who wore a perplexed expression. At this point, my youngest nephew was starting to fall asleep in her arms. The older one was playing around carelessly, completely oblivious to the mildly weird situation. I unlocked and opened the door. Luckily, our screen door was locked, so he couldn't just get in. Yeah, what do you need?" I asked as politely as I could. "Your mom wanted me to clean the gutters. She promised to pay me. Can I come in?" I just stood there, not knowing what to do or say. Why would my mom want a man to clean the gutters when she has me? More so, why would she want him to do it at a time like this? It looks like it's past 9, when in reality it's only 5:45 p.m. "My mom isn't home. She'll be back later," I said. The man groaned lightly in irritation. "Well, can you call her?" "Sorry, my phone's dead," I lied. He nodded without another word and turned to, I assume, leave. I closed the door and sat back down. Not 2 minutes later, another knock was on the door. I went to look through the peephole but was unable to see anybody. "Who's there?" I called out, slightly on edge. "It's me," my little sister said. Her voice sounded a bit off, now that the memory is becoming fresh in my mind. I opened the door and gasped softly. The man was right behind my sister. I quickly unlocked the screen door and hurried my sister in. I asked her if she was okay. "Yeah, but that man keeps asking where Ma is." I felt my stomach drop. Why is this guy so persistent? It can't be so much money if my mom has to pay for food for us. Not long after, the movie was over and my oldest nephew was asleep. I was trying to get the baby boy to sleep when my girlfriend's mom came through the door. She looked weirded out. "Ma, what's wrong?" my girlfriend asked. "That old man tried to get in the car with me." "What?" My girlfriend pressed. Yeah, I was parking the car and he kept trying to open the passenger side door. I pulled my knife out and scared him off though. Thought he was trying to hurt me, if I'm honest. Hearing that, my heart nearly stopped. My girlfriend's mom is a small lady, maybe around 5'5" and really thin. If she didn't have her knife with her, who knows what would have happened. I gave my nephew to my girlfriend and looked out the window. He was standing by our mailbox, waiting. He was looking dead at me. At this point, I bet you're guessing I called the police. Nope. I just stared at him. It was like I was in a trance, like every nerve in my body shut down for a moment. This next part haunts my nightmares today. He gave me a wide-opened mouth grin and widened his eyes. I never told my girlfriend or sister this because I didn't want to scare them. My breathing was heavy at this point. He then turned around slowly and walked down the street. I never heard from him again. Just as he disappeared into the night, all of the lights cut off, causing the baby boy to start crying. It startled us all, in fact. After about 5 minutes of darkness, the power came back on and my mom walked through the door shortly after. In the most casual way I could, I asked her, "Mom, why didn't you ask me to clean the gutters?" She looked at me confused for a minute, so I say, "Some old dude named Vince came by and said you wanted him to clean the gutters." Her eyes widen slightly and she says, "I don't know a Vince." An update. Turns out that Vince was a wanted criminal in my area. I don't know what for since he is now in prison, but damn. Learning that made the experience much scarier. Another update. It's August 2018 and I heard from around the neighborhood that the guy was wanted for kidnapping and attempted murder of a 16-year-old girl. He was also the suspect in the murder of a 9-year-old boy a few years ago. Long story short, the boy's sister was being attacked by this man and the boy rescued her, unfortunately getting beaten, stabbed, and killed with a massive rock. It's been over 6 years since this messed up thing has happened to me, and I think I'm ready to share it. I'm a male, slim, athletic, around 5'11", and am still a partying animal to this day. I admit I can get a little out of control. I am from Melbourne, Australia. I was 19 when this happened to me. One Friday night I was invited to a house party at a friend's house for one crazy night. It was a big house with over 300 people. I knew I would drink a lot and definitely take some drugs, like weed and ecstasy, so I took a train there since I knew I wouldn't be able to drive. It took me at least 30 minutes by train from my house to the closest train station, and another 10 minutes walking from the station to the house. As I expected, there were already a few people there, some of whom I knew, and some who I was meeting for the first time. As the night progressed, we were all dancing in the backyard, having shots, smoking a bong, playing games, etc. It was like this until 1 or 3 in the morning. I can vaguely remember since I was drinking and smoking and probably had a few other things. At the time, the party was showing signs of not shutting down, but in my state I was feeling a bit tired, so I was getting my coat ready to leave. But most of my friends as well as other people urged me not to leave. So, like the dumbass that I was, I stayed there a while longer. I drank and smoked more, as did everyone else. About an hour or two later, I was definitely ready to get back home, so I said goodbye to the people that weren't passed out and made my way to the station. I could have caught a taxi, but I had no money, so I walked to the station underpass. I will admit that the walk did sober me up a little bit since I had a high tolerance. On my way to the underpass, I could hear 2 people arguing. When I got closer, I could tell it was a man and a woman. The man was shorter than the woman, who was at least the same height as me, since she was in heels. I could hear swearing, and suddenly the man slapped the woman, threw her head against the wall, and when she was on the ground, he was kicking her. I yelled out, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing?" as I'm getting a little closer to beat the shit out of the man. He stopped beating the woman, looked at me as the woman got up, and she started running towards my direction. She ran past me as I locked eyes with her. That was enough for the guy to come close enough to me and hold a knife to my throat. I was frozen. My heart was beating hard and I almost shit myself. The man looked really pissed. To describe him, he looked to be in his early 40s, short black hair, white, and a slim build. "You want to be a hero, huh?" he said in a low voice. I didn't answer. I was too scared to move or speak. He told me to lay face down on the ground while he still had the knife in his hand. I did what he said, and I could hear him pulling his pants down with his other hand. In my mind, I knew what he was going to do to me. I didn't know how to get myself out of this situation. "Don't struggle, bitch," he said to me as he was pulling my pants down. He was on top of me, but before he could do whatever he wanted to do, he leaned closer to my ear and whispered, "I am gonna fuck you so hard." He didn't finish his sentence because he heard a noise. That's when I headbutted him with the back of my head to his nose, pushed him off my back, and quickly pulled my pants back up. I ran away while I could hear him yelling at me. I wasn't sure what he said, but I could hear him swearing and running towards me. He never caught me. It was a fucking miracle that I got away, especially in the state that I was in. And by another miracle, the train almost left without me, but I quickly made my way in just 2 seconds before the doors closed. By the time the train was moving, the man had emerged from under the overpass and was looking at me, with his knife in his hand and my phone in the other hand. He took my phone without me even realizing it. I was so afraid of what he was going to do to me, but thanks to my quick thinking, nothing happened to me. I got a new phone, of course, and deactivated all of my info from the other one that was stolen from me, so I'm pretty sure finding me is not going to happen. I find it very strange that something like this could happen to me since I'm a male. To this day, I'll never go to the train station at that hour, and especially in that state. From now on, I catch an Uber or I stay the night at the house party. Better safe than dead or raped. Some important backstory before I get into this. I was in a toxic and abusive marriage with my now ex-husband for years. He was very manipulative and had me feeling that everything bad in our relationship was my fault, which is why I never reported him or left sooner. I could write a book about everything he did, but this is the worst thing he did and finally opened my eyes to leave him for good. I found out he was cheating on me with my then best friend Megan, and 3 days later I found out I was pregnant with our second child. He denied her and our son as his. After our daughter Lily was born, his abuse became worse and more frequent. This one night after a long day of work, he wanted to leave to Megan's to spend time with her. Of course I was furious. Not only that he wanted to leave, but I was exhausted, on multiple medications and recovering from 3 different surgeries. He started yelling so loud I thought my neighbors were going to call the cops. I wish they had. He shoved me on the couch that was in our room. I was holding our crying 3-month-old daughter while my 2-year-old son Ezio was holding onto my arm, quivering. Things escalated quickly, and the next thing I knew, he had his rifle pointed towards my face. It happened so fast and unexpected that I was in shock. I was in such a bad state of mind I couldn't think straight. All I could do was cry. Holding Lily up, who was still crying, I yelled at him, "Look at her! Even if you think she's not yours, she's just a baby. She didn't do anything to you. or Ezio. If you're gonna shoot me, then please do no harm to the kids when I'm gone." To my absolute horror, he coldly responded, "Don't worry, they're going with you." My heart stopped as I heard him pull the trigger. Time seemed to stand still as I slowly realized nothing happened. By some miracle, the gun had misfired. Frustrated, he threw the gun on the floor and stomped out of the room and through the front door. Slamming the door behind him, I sat in disbelief and tried comforting my children. Not long after that night, I moved 6 hours away with my kids. My son is now 7 and my daughter is almost 5. My ex-husband hasn't seen our kids in over 2 years now, and I couldn't be happier. God help whatever girl gets involved with him next. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And if you would like to help support the channel, I recommend you checking out that membership button. It should be down by the subscribe button, says join. Gives you a few cool perks, including channel badges and whatnot. So if that's something you're interested in, check it on out. I want to give a big thank you to everyone that's been submitting stories. I really do appreciate it, and I'm trying to get more of the submitted stories done since everyone took the time to write them. I hope everyone has a great day, and I will catch you in the next video. And just remember, it's always scarier if it's true. Bad bye. I'm a plumber in a rural area in the desert. I've been in this profession for about 40 years, and I thought I'd seen it all. But I was wrong. I got a call one day out to an old ranch. The caller reported that some pipes were busted, so it was urgent that I made my way out there. I packed up my stuff and immediately headed out. When I reached the address and knocked on the door, I was greeted by a very pleasant woman. She explained the urgency of the situation, and I went inside and found their issue. A big section of their main plumbing was going to need to be replaced. She mentioned that her husband was trying to split the main water line and get some water out to a mine they had in the mountains. I thought it was odd that they would try to do this even though they obviously had no experience. But whatever. Job security, I guess. I go turn off the main water line, and just as I'm standing up, I see someone staring at me in the distance. It looked like they were wearing a mask, but it was only like half of a mask, and it had giant bunny ears. Probably one of the weirdest and creepiest things I've ever seen. I go back inside and finish the work. Just as I finish up replacing their piping, I hear the front door open and someone walk inside. The footsteps continue through the house and stop right behind me. At this point, I was in the kitchen with the lady, going over the contracts and getting ready to collect the money. I turned around when I heard this person get behind me, and it was the same person who was staring at me off in the distance, still wearing this really weird mask. The lady pipes up and says that's her husband, says that he's not very friendly or talkative. I can't say I blame him. People are stupid. I extend my hand out in a greeting. "How you doing, sir? My name is Billy Bob Rob." He doesn't reach out his hand to return my handshake. I decide it's best to just get the money. I turn back to the lady and let her know that everything's taken care of, and that if they have any further issues, just give me a call. Just as the lady's handing me the check, I hear from behind me.
"I walk your big steel rod deep into my mysterious cavern."
That comment really caught me off guard. I assumed he meant he needed help getting water out to his mine, but the way he worded it was just weird. Not to mention his voice was like someone took a bunch of bumblebees and put them in a metal coffee can, slightly shook them up for about an hour, froze them and tied leashes onto them, defrosted them and brought them back to life, made them smoke 17 packs of cigarettes a day for 32 years, and then merging them into one super bee and making that a human. And that's about where I drew the line. I thanked them both for their business, walked out, drove away, and tried to avoid them. I made a note when I got back to the computers and put that I didn't want to work there again. Unfortunately, my business card had my cell phone number on it. Every day for 4 months, this guy would call and just say,
I walk your big steel rod deep into my mysterious cavern.
And I would just hang up. I finally mentioned it to a few friends and they let me know that there's actually an app that can block calls. So I installed the app and blocked the number. And for another 2 months following that, I'd get a call every single day from a random number, saying the same thing.
I walk your big steel rod deep into my mysterious cavern.
I eventually just got a new cell phone number altogether. But there wasn't much I could do about them calling the office, so I made sure to never answer the office phone. So to that creepy guy with his big bunny ear mask, let's not meet.